So have you ever been in a situation where the police contact you weeks, maybe even months after an incident occurred, and they're contacting you because they want to get your quote unquote version of events about what actually happened? So in a situation where somebody else has made a report to the police and they haven't told the full truth, should you give your version of events? Should you give your side of the story? And should you make a statement to the police in these circumstances? So in just a moment, I'm going to tell you what to do if you ever find yourself in this situation. So I am criminal defense attorney Hannah Akintoye, and when it comes to giving statements to the police, especially when somebody else has said something about you that is inaccurate, untrue, or just completely a lie, people tend to want to protect themselves. And that means that if it means giving a statement to the police, they are more inclined to go ahead and start telling the police what actually happened when they don't really know the full story of what the police even know. And so what typically happens is that you accidentally incriminate yourself without even realizing it. In most situations, the police don't know if you were there. They don't have any proof or evidence that you were in a particular location at the time. They don't really know the full extent of your involvement. But once you start giving statements, you not only put yourself at the scene of a possible crime, but now you also implicate yourself and claim some level of involvement. So let me give you a really good example about how this can occur. Let's say you are in a bar fight, right? And the story that the police got was that maybe you started the bar fight, but your version of events is that you were involved in the bar fight only because you were trying to separate two people. Well, what if 2 or 3 people got together and they created a story to implicate you so that you wouldn't be arrested? Well, you would be the only person that gave a statement that's contrary to what everybody else says. So even though you knew what the truth was and other people said something that could have completely been a lie, you've now done 2 things. One, you've put yourself at the scene of the bar. So you've told the police officers that you know that you were at the location of the bar. You're familiar with the fight that occurred. And then also, you're also telling them that you were involved in some way, shape, or form. And what people do is they tend to downplay their level of involvement. They'll say, oh no, I didn't hit anybody. I only broke away the fight. And what somebody else may say is, they said that they were breaking away the fight, but actually while they were breaking away the fight, they also punched somebody else, right? And these kinds of stories could get messy. And so sometimes it's best to not even make a statement at all. So if you're ever in a situation where something like this happens, where the police are saying, hey, I heard that you were involved in something and I want to get your version, there are 3 rules that if you apply these rules, you won't ever end up in a situation where you accidentally incriminate yourself or accidentally give the police enough information to now potentially charge you with a crime. So the first rule that I have is to never make a statement to the police unless you've spoken to an attorney first. And the reason why I say it that way is because you may or you may not need an attorney. You know, maybe you want to make a statement to the police, but instead you want an attorney to be there and be present with you when you're making the statement. Other times, you may just want to consult with an attorney. If you're able to at least speak with an attorney, they are more familiar with how police investigations typically work. And so they will be more inclined to tell you whether or not you should make a statement or not, and kind of leave it there. Or if you want to actually retain that attorney, you can go that next step further. But at least having a conversation with somebody who's a little bit more experienced than you in how these police investigations work could be a big game changer for you. And I'll give you a really, really good example of how this occurs here where my law office is located in Washington, D.C. Typically what I see a lot of police officers do is that they will contact you and they'll say, hey, you know, we saw that your vehicle was involved in a hit and run accident, and we want to just make sure that we get the right person. We know that this vehicle is registered to you, so we just want to make sure that we have the right person involved in this accident. Now that forces you to do a lot of things. One, it forces you to want to defend yourself, right? And you'll say, no, I wasn't driving my vehicle on so-and-so date or time, but honestly, who actually remembers when they were truly driving their vehicle unless there's something significant that happens. So what the police officer is going to be thinking is, how do you even know what date and time the accident occurred when I haven't even told you? Or how do you even know where you were at the date and time of the accident when most people don't remember that? So these are things that officers are thinking about as they are speaking with you. And they don't know that this is part of their investigation when they're determining if you were involved or not. So if you're in a situation where the police contact you and they say that your vehicle was involved in a hit and run accident, one thing it will do is it will cause you to want to defend yourself, as I mentioned, right? And it will cause you to potentially want to implicate somebody else. That's really what they want you to do. They want you to either say that it was you and something and give another version of what truly happened, which really you're implicating yourself. Or two, they want you to implicate somebody else. And honestly, if you give your key to your vehicle to somebody else to drive, that's either going to be a friend or family member. And most people, if you really care about your friends and family members, you're not going to want to turn their names over to the police. So you're really typically going to be in a bind in any situation where the police are asking you for a statement, because you're going to either implicate yourself or you're going to potentially have to get the name of somebody else. And again, depending on what neighborhood you are from, that could be dangerous if you're giving other people's names to the police. So my first rule is have a conversation with an attorney first to determine what you should do next. And then from that conversation, you can decide if you want to retain that attorney to move forward or leave it there with the initial advice that the attorney is able to provide to you. But you haven't been charged with anything, so you may or may not really need an attorney. It depends on the circumstances. My second rule is never make any promises to the police. And the reason why I ask you this is because they're usually going to try to tie you into a date or a time to come and speak with them. Either come down to the station or they may come to your residence and visit you to make a statement. And that's usually a very quick turnaround. So sometimes they'll say, hey, are you available tomorrow at 3 p.m.? I would be happy to just stop by and quickly talk with you about what happened, right? This talk with you, or if you want to give a statement, no pressure, all of that, they are writing down everything that you say. There's no way that you're going to talk to a police about an ongoing investigation and they not write down what you said. If a police officer is ever coming in contact with you to investigate a crime, they are detectives. Detectives, that is their job, to simply investigate crimes further. And so if a detective is contacting you to investigate something, one, they're investigating some type of criminal activity. So the reason why they are contacting you could only be twofold. One, you're either the witness to some type of criminal activity or crime that occurred, or two, you're the suspect. And I don't know that you would really want to find out that you were the suspect after you've been arrested because you made a statement. So rule number two, make sure that you don't make any promises. You can potentially tell the police officer, instead of committing to a date and time to come in to make a statement or to speak with them, you can say, hey, you know what? I've never been in this situation before. Is it okay if I contact an attorney first and then I can contact you back? That way you can let them know, hey, I know a little bit of my rights here, but at the same time, I'm not going to commit to saying anything until I am apprised or I am informed of what I should do in a situation like this. Now, you're not under arrest, right? They haven't arrested you for anything yet. So whatever you tell that police officer at any point in time before an arrest is guaranteed to be used against you, especially if it's incriminating in nature. So that's rule number two. Rule number three, this is the most important one. If the police had probable cause to arrest you, they would have arrested you already. I'm going to repeat that. If the police had probable cause to arrest you, most of the time they would have already arrested you. Let me give you an example of this. If you are like outside and there is a gun battle happening and the police actually see you shoot another person, do you think that they're going to walk over to you and say, hey, I saw that you shot somebody else. Can you tell me a little bit about what happened? Absolutely not. They are going to take you, put you in handcuffs and arrest you and immediately take you over to the jail or take you over to the police station. They are going to put you in handcuffs first, ask questions later. So If they have probable cause to arrest you, there is no need to start asking you for any clarification. The reason why a lot of police officers do ask for your version of events or for some type of clarification is because there is some type of hole missing in their pie of probable cause. There's a piece missing in their puzzle, and they need to fill that hole. They need to fill that gap. There's something missing. And so if their puzzle of probable cause is not complete, then they have to start reaching out, seeking witnesses, getting video surveillance, getting a little bit more information, asking questions, getting statements. And that is where it comes in, where they are asking you for your statement to see what your level of involvement is. So most of the time, if they're contacting you and you believe that they are suspecting you of a crime, they don't have everything together. That's typically going to be the situation. In very rare circumstances, maybe they just want to get your version first before they arrest you. That doesn't happen too often. Most of the time, they will arrest you first. Then they'll read you your Miranda rights and then ask you for a statement. So the moment that you give them a statement, you could be completing the holes and the gaps that they have to the probable cause that they were trying to gather to arrest you. Repeating those 3 rules again. Number 1, make sure that you speak to an attorney first before you make any statements to the police. Rule number 2, make sure that you don't make any promises to the police, especially if you don't know if you can keep them. And rule number 3, remember this one very clearly. If the police already had probable cause to arrest you, they likely would have already arrested you. So if you can remember those 3 rules, it is very unlikely that you'll ever be in a situation where you will accidentally incriminate yourself. So I hope that information is helpful to you. If you have questions, always feel free to comment them below or message me on my website, mydclaw.com, and I'm always happy to chat with you further and answer any of your questions and follow-up videos. Stay safe and take care. I'll see you all soon.